All right. Thank you so much, RJ, for gracing us with some musical tunes, just like any other Undiscovered, which definitely makes me miss Undiscovered right now. Welcome, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us for our virtual Undiscovered report out. We were hoping to do this in person at Bayanihan Center, but we're so glad to still be able to do it for you all virtually via Zoom. So my name is Gina Rosales. For those who don't know me, I'm the co-founder of Undiscovered SF, along with Desi. And we're here today to talk to you about what we've been up to and what we have been doing over the past 3 years of the Undiscovered SF Creative Night Market. First off, I want to acknowledge the fact of why we're all here virtually doing events right now. COVID is just something that none of us expected. And we want to give a huge shout out to all of the frontline and essential workers out there who are, really putting in the work to keep our community strong and keep everything functioning, especially so many Filipinos out there on the front lines. And shout out to Cultivate Labs for their Feed the Frontlines campaign right now, supporting a lot of these frontline workers and seniors. All right, we also want to do a check-in question. So if everyone could type in the chat where you're joining us from, we'd love to hear where everyone's calling in from. And we're also recording this, and we'll be posting this on our website as well, because we know there's a lot of folks who want to know what's been happening and just couldn't join us right now. I'm calling in from Excelsior right now, so shout out to folks in the E. So yeah, and let us know where you're coming in from, and how many Undiscovereds have you been to, or have you not attended one yet and just wanted to hear what's up. So we'd love to know how many of our returning Undiscovered folks. Yeah, awesome, cool. Union City, Fairfield, SOMA, Miami. Oh, awesome. SOMA Pilipinas, every damn one. Yes, Christian. Yeah, you have been to everyone. So yeah, so good to be with everybody. I'm going to go ahead and present some slides that we're going to go through today, and you'll get to meet our whole team of the folks who are behind the scenes planning this event. So let me. All right. Can everyone see this deck? Give me a thumbs up if you can see my full screen deck. Okay, awesome. Okay, so 3 years of a creative Filipino night market in SOMA Pilipinas, the Filipino Cultural District in San Francisco. So I want to first shout out our amazing Undiscovered team. We've had a huge team over the past 3 years, and has changed from year to year. So raise your hand, actually, team folks who have been here since year 1 producing. Yeah, heck yeah. And also, for those of you who are new to Zoom or haven't used it as much, if you hover over the participants area, you can choose gallery view if you want to see everyone's faces, or you can do speaker view if you want to highlight the presentation. So feel free to do that, and you can click through and see all the different people's faces who are joining us today. So yeah, shout out our team. We are a mix of event planners. We've got a marketing team, stage managers, retail curators, food curators, music, dance curators, because curating this event is a huge part of that. We've got an operations team who really get the event set up, photographers, videographers, PR, shout out Papa Lowdown, who's in the call right now, merchandise managers, and of course our volunteers who help us every day, every event, making it happen and helping us keep things going. I'll pass it to Desi real quick to go ahead and take over.
Yeah, we want to take a moment to kind of really just highlight the fact that we lost a key team member earlier this year, Marco Gestalana. He was actually one of my best friends. We grew up together, taught me how to dance. And I think his kind of love for life really kind of inspired me to really kind of seek out more for what we could do for our community. And a little known fact is that Marco came up with the name Undiscovered, and was really instrumental in inspiring us to kind of really think bigger of what a Filipino night market could be. and he was definitely a big spark of our inspiration. So shout out to Marco. We love you. We still feel your spirit and your energy. And I know you're wandering the halls of Kobo right now, and you'll be kicking my chair pretty soon. So yeah.
Go ahead, Des, you can keep going.
Oh, okay. Well, outside of Marco being a big part of the inspiration of Undiscovered, you know, there is a very, very deep purpose to Undiscovered, which is the next slide. That'll help kind of illustrate that, is how do we develop SOMA Pilipinas as a cultural district on par with like Chinatown, Japantown, and Little Saigon. You know, these Asian neighborhoods and cultural districts have been around, some for more than 100 years, some just, you know, 20 years or less than 20 years, but these are our peer groups. And, you know, we want to be on par, if not better than these cultural districts. And so we know that living in SOMA Pilipinas, we have a lot of challenges. And, you know, we don't want to pretend that we can solve everything, but there is one thing that we want to try to solve is how do we create a commercial corridor so that we can be just like Chinatown, Japantown, and Little Saigon. So next slide. So one of the things that is really missing is that this commercial corridor, you know, this is one of the things that punctuates these different Asian commercial districts, is that you can know when you've entered and left because you see a strip of businesses. And businesses aren't just used for placemaking, they actually have a much more deeper purpose for a community, and that's economic development. It is a platform for our community to level up. And as we know, income inequality is one of the biggest challenges we have in the Bay Area, and we hope that through entrepreneurship we can kind of close that gap so we don't keep losing more residents to income inequality. So next slide. So one of the things that we're kind of really deeply rooted in our thinking and our intention of Undiscovered is how to make Mission Street a commercial corridor. So there's a lot of arrows here, but let me kind of walk through the color code. Things that are in orange are things that are in red were kind of existing cultural anchors on Mission Street. For example, closer to the right, you see the SFFCC, that is the Filipino Cultural Center, on right next to Denny's. Unfortunately, we can't see too much to the right, but there was also St. Patrick's Church. There's also Pistahan that happens there. As you go down Mission Street a little bit more, then we hit the Mint Mall, where we have a lot of long-term residents. We've got JT's, and then right over on Mission Street, 6th and Mission, of course, we've got the Bayanihan Center, we got BEC, we've got Archipelago, SOMCAN has just moved in next door, and then anything in orange, all this kind of new activity and new kind of anchors of businesses and organizations and projects that are coming or have come to the cultural district. Anything in green are new projects that we are working on to kind of help solidify and fill in the gaps. So we really think that Mission Street is our best bet to develop our first commercial corridor quickly, because all the pieces are starting to come together. Okay. Oh, Gina, you're muted.
Awesome. Okay, so talking about process, some people might know, some not. This idea came about because I actually attended one of Desi's infamous PowerPoint presentations, and he did something very similar to this, showing me, you know, what was this future of what SOMA Pilipinas was, and I was really inspired by that and wanted to give back. And as an event planner, I thought to myself, like, more people need to know about this. Let's throw a big party and just invite everyone, and then more people can know about SOMA Pilipinas and feel the kind of pride that I'm feeling right now, just knowing that this cultural district exists. And so we initially were starting it to be, it was supposed to be a launch party for SOMA Pilipinas, but Desi, you know, worked his magic and got a bunch of really amazing grants and sponsors to fund the event, and we're able to do multiple. So that first year of Undiscovered, we produced, I think, 6 events in a row, which was just very insane. And so our event planning team was very critical in this process. My company is Make It Mariko. We're an all women of color event planning team, also based in SOMA, right on this commercial corridor. I'm the founder and owner. Shout out to Angel, our GM, who's been critical in planning, and of course, Felicia Chenko, who's also an event manager and doing so much for our planning team as well. And of course, so many volunteers who work under us. Yeah, I love how Ron's like, I remember when this PowerPoint was only 3 slides long, and look how far we've come. So it's totally true. So we want to talk through kind of our history of what we've been through in the past 3 years. We started with 2017, the launch of Undiscovered SF in August of 2017. I remember this opening day when we were setting up, starting like 6 a.m. or something at the SF Mint, which is right on 6th and Mission. And somebody saying to me in my walkie-talkie, like, what are we going to do about the giant line outside? And I said, what line? And then we went outside and saw this giant, crazy line wrapping around into Mint Plaza, wrapping around onto Mission, all the way 2-3 blocks down. So if you were there at the first one, put it in the chat. If you didn't get in the first one, I'm so sorry. I know it was kind of like a joke, but it was really beautiful to see Filipino come out this hard for an event. That was really, really beautiful. So we had a lot of really amazing highlights season 1 at the SF Mint. We had over 8,000 people show up for our launch. We were able to activate this unused historic building in San Francisco, the SF Mint, where they used to print money, and take it over and really fill it with community. There were so many different rooms in the SF Mint, and that was so great because we're able to activate them and have designated rooms for everyone. This is a photo here of one of our retail vendor rooms, which was packed and so many people shopping. We had all of our food vendors outside taking over Mint Plaza. If you walk through Mint Plaza on any other day, it's usually empty, people like smoking or just hanging out, or not a ton of like community activity happening. So it was really great to fill it with these amazing startup and established Filipino food vendors. Lines were around the block trying to get food. We opened with this amazing dance parade by Parangal. They paraded through the lines and did traditional Filipino dance to really celebrate our opening with a ton of pride. And we had so many amazing performances featured that first year. I think this is a photo here of SOMCAN doing a performance. We really prioritized like local performers, youth, and of course our headliner that first event was Lyrics Born, even though he's not Filipino, but Filipino community, and his wife is also Filipino. So that first year was really exciting for us. We also had a lot of challenges and learnings from this first event. There was limited capacity inside the SF Mint, so obviously a lot of people couldn't get in. There was only one elevator in the SF Mint, and we had 100 vendors and performers with equipment trying to get in. So that was very complex logistics. So shout out the ops team for figuring that out. Load in out was really hard on Jesse Street, this small street where we were having many, many cars coming out. I remember Kevin and Jen outside directing traffic of all these vendors and keeping it, organized and keeping people peaceful. And then our experience was split up. So at the SF Mint, we had retail and performances inside, and we had food outside. And because of capacity, some people went out to get food and then couldn't get back in. So that was pretty crazy. We learned a lot that first year. We learned that, vendors really want to be near the large activations. They wanted to be where there was foot traffic, where people were shopping and eating. And we needed a bigger space. We already knew right away that first year where we launched, we already outgrew our space. We needed more space where food, retail, and performers could all be together. So that was our first year, a picture of our first team and how our stage began with just a small banner at the back. And that was, such a great way to launch. And then we moved on to season 2. We moved on to parking lots outside of the Chronicle building. And this was like a very new experience, so many new logistics coming up for us. Some highlights for season 2, we were able to activate 3 giant parking lots. So not just one space, we had 3, and they were all like kind of together this time, but all the parking lots were separated by fences. So you still had to like go in here, go out there, but still more open, everything outdoors, more accessible. I loved my personal favorite was All Pinay Month. We had Rubia Bar, an amazing All Pinay lineup of performers for that Filipino American History Month, October. I really loved Manila Takeover Month. Shout out to Mark Herlihy for curating that and flying in all these amazing performers from Manila to take over our stage and really have that like cross-country collaboration. We announced and introduced the barangay. That was the first year that we had this barangay family-friendly community area, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. Tons more community programming. We're able to do karaoke. We were able to do Legos, bubbles, crocheting, so many other community programs we were able to incorporate because we had more space. And of course, beautiful live art. So much live art was created that year. I loved this one at All Pinay Month, and we were able to auction off a lot of this art at our holiday event as well. So that was really beautiful how we were able to still help make money for a lot of the artists who produced art at the event. So season 2 was really exciting for us. I'm gonna pass it on to, oh, actually, sorry, one more is challenges and learnings. Here's a photo of the barangay community area, which was under the tunnel at the Chronicle Lots. So some of the challenges of this space, it was not ADA accessible from the beginning. We had to build ramps to assist with access and allow wheelchairs to get in and out. I mean, these are parking lots. They're not designed for, ADAs. They're designed for cars. So that was really tough. That year, we challenged ourselves by doing a double header with Sunday Streets. So we literally did Undiscovered on Friday night, ended at like 12 or something. I got home at maybe 3 a.m. and then we were up at 8 a.m. doing another Undiscovered at Sunday Streets for SOMA. So that was very tiring, but we did it. There was no storage on site because it's a parking lot. So that was, really complex logistics for us, utilizing pods, storage pods for on-site storage, but also having to think about security. And you know what, we learned so much from season 2. And I think the biggest learning for us was density is key. We really, having everything together, having the 3 parking lots and the tunnel activation was so great because people really felt together and they were able to roam the entire event and like hop from place to place. So that was really great. And the vendors all made out better sales as well because they were so close to so much activation. So that was really great. The barangay programming was clutch. It was so great to have that family-friendly activities all day. And parents were there hanging out with their kids and everyone was entertained at once. And the city organizations were really helpful to us as well, like keeping the streets safe, clean, and family-friendly because it was a pretty tough street. We're on Minna between 5th and 6th, so we had to do a lot of street cleaning, a lot of constant partnerships with the city to make sure that it was presentable for our community members who were going to come through. All right, so now I'm going to pass it over to Angel to talk about season 3.
What's up, everybody? My name is Angel. I'm one of the event managers for Undiscovered and general manager for the Make It Marco team. So I'm going to talk through season 3. This was my first season, so it was really exciting to join the team and then also be up for a really interesting challenge. So we finally made it out to 7th Street on Stevenson between 7th and so for this season, we had a lot of logistical challenges. This was a tough street to activate because number one, there was a lot of complex logistics with the parking lot, and then also Stevenson Street is very narrow. So staying fire compliant with what the fire department needed from us was really challenging. There's a lot of pipes, there's a lot of different things on the sidewalk, so we tried to fill it to the brim as much as we could. But we started a lot of really exciting programming for this season. One of the most exciting things that we had was a flower lounge, which allowed us to bring a lot of the hip hop culture and a lot of local talent, who the stage is going to talk about a little bit more later. And then we also were able to get into the Westfield Mall and bring all of our vendors and take over the Dome, which is really exciting to get them into this major retail space and have a really successful event for all of our vendors. Next slide, please. So a few challenges that we faced on Stevenson Street. So when we showed up, I think that we saw a challenge, but we saw a lot of opportunity. As a lot of you know, Stevenson is in a very challenging area, but we definitely worked and collaborated with a lot of the community and a lot of the different city departments to get it into a place where a lot of folks could feel safe and a lot of folks felt that this space was accessible to them. This is a new venue, so we had to do a lot of negotiations, working with the parking lot and collaborating with them to activate the space, but also allow them to continue business as they needed to. Coordinating pedestrian safety with cars in the parking lot. So that was really challenging, getting all of our vendors in and out while still allowing the parking lot to operate was a really difficult thing. But I think that we worked together as a team and were able to allow safety, but then also, work with the folks that were there as well. Again, Stevenson Street was narrow, difficult to program compliant with fire permit rules. And then security for on-site storage. So we kind of learned as each Undiscovered happened, the level of security that was needed to keep our folks safe, but also the folks that were in the area safe as well. So we worked with both the community and our security folks to really allow for people to have fun and also be respectful to the space. So a few things that we learned, again, security is necessary for all on-site activations. Safety is number one, especially, being responsive to the things that were going on and folks feeling safe at a large event. So we worked, again, with the community and our security folks to fulfill that. And then multiple street cleaning passes. So we wanted to make sure that the street was clean. So again, as we went through each event, we definitely pulled more and more and more street cleaning and, working along with the folks that live on the street to allow for folks to feel safe while they're at the event. And we had one large space, so closing down the street was key. Basically, activating the parking lot and the street was definitely a process. Each Undiscovered, we learned how to kind of navigate the space, open it up a little bit more so folks could walk through. I know the folks that were at the first event, it was packed. And so we definitely, as we went through each event, we're like, how can we move things around, make this a lot easier for folks to navigate and really feel like they were comfortable at the event.
Awesome. And yeah, so keeping that in mind, we're really happy that we actually got a lot of positive feedback after that third season from Stevenson Street residents and some of the businesses and nonprofits that operate there. This is an email from the director of Homebridge, which is located on that street, and just saying that, like, they, crying tears of joy, seeing the block and the beautiful alleyway engaged, filled with love and filled with community. And helping some of the residents on that street, saying that we, transformed it into a place that was reflective of San Francisco and that welcomed everyone in the city to feel safe and enjoy music and, tons of activity and people of all ages utilizing the street. So we're really happy about our partnership with Stevenson and hope that we can continue to do more like that along our corridor. We're really also excited about the impact that the event has had. Obviously, one of the top priorities for Undiscovered and one of the main reasons we created it was, of course, to showcase SOMA Pilipinas and, bring knowledge of the cultural district. But really, our main goal is to support our small business owners and help build this commercial corridor. That's really the focus of Undiscovered and Cultivate Lab's mission of supporting that. And so we're so excited about the work that has come through. Season 1, we were able to generate over $250,000 in economic activity that went into the pockets of small businesses, performers, $5,000 towards legacy businesses who have been in SOMA for a long time. Season 2, it just keeps getting bigger. Every year we are able to increase the number of sales and help build these small businesses and give them exposure to larger markets so they could promote themselves. And Season 3, just like, wow, thank you to everyone who came out and supported this. and helped, build this money. So the way that it works is like we get a ton of grants from the city, we get sponsorships and donations from people like you, and we turn that around and help make money for the small businesses so that they can succeed and get better and get bigger, so that eventually some of these small businesses can be placed on the commercial corridor and have their own brick and mortar store. So that's really like the path of Cultivate Labs as a nonprofit. And we're so happy that everyone was supporting it and coming to spend money at the event. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Desi, who's going to talk about, Desi and our marketing team is going to talk about some of our outreach and engagement strategy.
Everyone can hear me? Cool. So when we do community outreach, there is a lot of different people involved. We tie in with Paul Barrera over at SOMA Pilipinas to build our outreach to all the different community orgs in SOMA Pilipinas. And really important part of creating Undiscovered is creating family-friendly activities. And so we have one of our team leads, Aaron Orsino, who was heading up that initiative. So every year we would always try to improve upon making Undiscovered a much more family-oriented space and event. And I feel like we've been very successful in doing that. Next slide. Also, getting 5,000 to 8,000 people requires a lot of different masterminds to, get people to come out, from their weekend and spend a few hours with us. So, we have Marky Enriquez, who we're very lucky to have on our team. He also heads the digital marketing for CAM. We also have Kat Jimenez, who actually started out as an intern with us and now is a marketing manager for Cultivate Labs. So big up to Kat for stepping up and growing with us. And of course, we had Marco Justelana on our team, but is no longer here with us, but is here in spirit. Next slide. So one of the kind of key things in developing an event like this is being really mindful of who are we creating this event for. So at the core is creating an event that is relevant to the residents of SOMA Pilipinas, and then looking outside of our borders and making this an event that Filipino Americans all across the Bay would want to come to. And I think we've shown that that has been very successful for us. And another thing that we're very cognizant of is getting millennials and the youth involved in community development. One of the things that we learned earlier on when we were doing the planning process is that there was a major gap generationally of Filipino American millennials being disengaged in the work of the arts and activists of our community. So we wanted to create an event that would speak to them and make them kind of really rethink their role in our community and get them activated as new advocates for the movement that we're trying to create here in SOMA Pilipinas. Next slide.
I think we're going to pass to Marky right now.
Oh, cool. There you go. Marky, you're next.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Marky Enriquez. I'm on the marketing team and also a music curator for Undiscovered. So, how did we reach our audiences? So one of the first ways we reached our audiences was through community outreach. We not only worked with closely with SOMA Pilipinas and Paul Barrera with engaging the community in person through various events, but we also partnered with the SOMA organizations. We invited them to host and table at Undiscovered, and then we also highlighted various SOMA businesses and organizations like Archipelago or Nix on our blog, which Kat will talk about later. Or simply just popping into the local businesses like JT's and putting up a poster or laying down a postcard. Those were some of the ways that we engaged with the community. But one of the main ways that we reached our audiences was through digital media. Through our robust website that we updated on a regular basis. We were also very active on social media. We had a full calendar of posts leading up to each event. And we produced content like spotlight videos highlighting various vendors and talent, and also highlighting various stories from the community on our blog. Finally, we also reached our audiences and beyond through PR. We work closely with our rock star publicist, Paloma Concordia of Papa Lowdown Agency. Yeah, shout out to them. You know, to help us amplify the local stories, to generate buzz and pick up positive press each month, as you'll see later on. And now I'd like to hand it off to Kat, who'll talk more about the impact of our marketing and social media strategy.
Hey guys, I'm Kat and I'm part of the Undiscovered marketing team as well as the marketing manager for Cultivate Labs. So some of the feedback that we've gotten from our performers includes this quote from Marta Diaz, who was featured during season 1. And she said, "I never had a chance to be on the main stage. And when I got up there, my parents finally understood what my passion was about." And for me, this quote is one of the many success stories that we've had at Undiscovered. And personally, I think it encapsulates a big part of what we're trying to do with this night market, which is to give others a platform to share their story and to have their voice be heard. Next slide, please. So a lot of the feedback that we've gotten has been really positive. One attendee mentioned that it's the best Filipino organized event in San Francisco. And another person has said, for a free event in San Francisco, this event has the highest production value that I've experienced in a long time. But we've also gotten a lot of constructive criticism that we really had to work through last year during season 3. For the marketing team in particular, one of the biggest challenges that we face is that for each event, we have a vast amount of performers, retail and food vendors, artists, community organizations, and sponsors that we highlight for each event. Our lineup changes every month, and so we're doing a lot of promotion leading up to the event, post-event marketing, and then we have to switch gears and promote the next event. And so it's a lot that we have to work through. But especially going into season 4, what we've realized is that we really need to give ourselves more time to properly promote each person that's part of this event, since our vendors, our performers, our artists, and community organizations do so much work in this community, and we really want to highlight their work and their story. Next slide, please. And so we do this by promoting and engaging with our audience on a daily basis leading up to each event using social media. We have over 17,000 followers across Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And going into season 4, especially with the advantage of being online, we really want to strengthen our online presence since we have the ability to reach audiences beyond the Bay Area and beyond San Francisco. So we've noticed that some of our top performing posts on Facebook and Instagram have been of our performers like Jocelyn Enriquez, who opened season 3 for us last year, and Ruby Ibarra, who was one of our headliners for the All Pinay month during October of season 2. And so they have really large followings, and so it makes sense that these posts get promoted and reshared. But another thing that we've noticed too is that when we post content about our local community members, like Gina's feature in Forbes, we've also gotten a really strong response. So we've tried to shift our marketing strategy to feature more of our content featuring local talent and community members or legacy businesses in SOMA Pilipinas, which is actually where Paul comes in. So I'm going to hand it off to him to talk more about that.
Hello. So these are 3 of the businesses that have been featured over the years on the Undiscovered blog. Every month there's a featured vendor, 1 food vendor and 1 retail vendor, and those stories are part of you know, the outreach strategy in the lead up to the event on social media. And yeah, so the first one that is, you know, presented here is JT Restaurant. It's not possessive, it's a typo. And it's one of the oldest restaurants, actually the oldest restaurant in the cultural district, I believe. And yeah, it's the 2nd generation of ownership. It's the first owner was the current owner's sister. Her name is Tess. She has a, you know, traditional Filipino restaurant with traditional Filipino recipes, and she's been a part of almost every night market. And her booths are always really popular with locals and with visitors. And then the next business that was highlighted, or that's being presented here, is Archipelago Books. That's one of the district's longest running businesses as well. This is the 2nd generation of ownership as well. And it's a Filipino only bookstore. Right now it's located in the Bayanihan Center at 1010 Mission, but I understand that they're going to be moving down the street as part of a further extension of the commercial corridor. And then the third business here is Nick's Kitchen. This one is significant because she was a vendor with us, I believe, in the first season, and she's seen the popularity of her work grow in recent years, and she's expanded to South City. And then this year, or excuse me, late last year, she opened a location at 6th and Mission, which is really like along the commercial corridor, and across the street from the Bayanihan Center. So her success and her new location is really a reflection of the progress a vendor can make out of Undiscovered and towards brick and mortar location and holding down the district. So yeah, that's this slide, and I'll take a look at the next slide.
We'll actually pass it on to Marky.
Yeah.
Hi everybody, it's Marky again. So I was not only on the marketing team and the music curation team, but I was also working with PR, and I worked closely with Paloma Concordia again from Papa Lowdown Agency, and I was lucky enough to take her PR for the People workshop, and I just want to I just want to plug that workshop because I learned so much just about the basics of public relations and how you can like leverage the media to help create buzz and generate excitement for and amplify stories. So basically, we raised a lot of public awareness and generated a lot of press, through our PR campaign. And these are just some of the highlights. We had so many, but from season 1, SF Gate, picked us up, when we launched at the Mint, to Eater, writing a story about Filipino food and culture, making a splash at Undiscovered, which was amazing. We also were able to highlight Tequila, an amazing band from the 70s, an OPM, original Filipino band, based in San Francisco, the Mission District to be exact. And we wanted to highlight them at Undiscovered, and we were fortunate enough to get them a lot of press actually that year. And one of the highlights was a feature on KALW. Next slide, please. The Chronicle gave us a lot of love. Qbert was the headliner in season 2, and we had a nice spread for him. Jocelyn Enriquez, her story of making a comeback and performing to her Bay Area fans, that was a big spread in the SF Chronicle date book. That's one that we were really, really proud of. And shout out to ABS-CBN. They were consistently covering Undiscovered every month, and they gave us a lot of coverage, and we really, really appreciate all the help that we got from ABS-CBN for covering and supporting Undiscovered. Also, we got a front page story on SF Weekly, and that was huge for us, being on the front page of a newspaper, a local newspaper like SF Weekly, and that was definitely a huge highlight for us in terms of press. Next slide, please. And we weren't only featured in newspapers, but we were all over the television as well. Shout out to Gina and Desi, who represented for the team on TV for us. Gina was featured on Bay Area Focus on KIPX or KPIX. We also had the Tequila Band on Asian Pacific America with Robert Honda. Desi was featured numerous times on ABS-CBN, and we were also highlighted when we received an award from the American Institute of Architects and SF on ABS-CBN as well. So the list goes on, and we received over 40 positive press hits in season 3 alone, and we're just thrilled that we were able to reach beyond our target audience and to the greater Bay Area and also nationwide. So again, once again, thanks to Papa Lowdown Agency, for all your help, and to Paloma Concordia and her entire team. Shout out to them. They were really awesome. And I'd like to hand it off to the next.
Yeah, well, we're going to pass it off to Retail. Super quick question in the chat for folks, like talking about outreach, like how did all of you who are here today hear about Undiscovered? Would love to hear if you just put in, did you hear from a friend? Did you see one of these press articles? Would love to hear that. And then, yeah, we'll go ahead and pass on to our food and retail curation team.
All right. Hi, guys. My name is Jen, and I'm the retail curator at Undiscovered, also a general manager at 7th West. And my counterpart is Kevin. Is Kevin around?
I'm here. How's it
Yeah.
going?
Yeah. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm the food curator. Both Jen and I manage a little bit of both on both sides for food and retail. We've been working together since 2014, 15. We're the co-founders of Black Market SF, which was a night market not too dissimilar from Undiscovered SF that we ran for almost a year or two. And then we've been in the retail game and the food game for the past 5 years. Jen has been a maker and retail shop owner herself that I worked with her for a while. And then now we're working at 7th West together and working on these different projects together. And, we're very excited to have actually worked at Undiscovered because what we've been doing the past couple of years with the retail and food curation has been a challenge, but definitely very fulfilling as we're very community aligned. So if we can go to the next slide, we'll go over the challenges that we had faced when Desi first approached me. And fun fact, probably 3 weeks before the first Undiscovered ever, I told Desi that I was ready to quit because these particular challenges that we had facing us was pretty daunting, because unlike other night markets we produced before, it was very Filipino specific. So we had to hustle really hard to find as many Filipino American vendors we could, especially in SOMA. So the challenges we faced during the past couple of seasons has been, there's only the SOMA Pilipinas community is very small, and there's not a lot of small business owners there to begin with. And there's also a very small population of Filipino Americans already living in the SOMA. And one of the things that's very true too is, in general, Filipino Americans tend to be a little bit risk averse when it comes to taking chances on businesses. That's not necessarily true. I think I've seen a lot more entrepreneurs these past couple of years, and that's awesome. But one of the big challenges is, with a lack of experienced entrepreneurs, there's also a lack of mentorship in this particular realm. And there's only so much time and so much effort that we could place to help facilitate that. But I think what Cultivate's doing, and with what the SOMA Pilipinas plan is, and what Undiscovered is doing, this is all trending towards building that kind of incubator system or incubator model that I believe we're going to discuss at the very end of this presentation. And one of the other challenges is there's not a lot of businesses that are Filipino owned in general in the SOMA, because San Francisco is one of the hardest markets to put a business in. It's very expensive, very complicated policies. Like if you want to put in a restaurant and that place was a retail store, the change of use permit takes about a year and a half if you're lucky and you have an expediter. So, that was one of the first things that we had faced going into this. But as you can see, per the last set of sections there, that we actually managed to wrangle some of the best and the newest Filipino American retail and food vendors in the Bay and all over the country to come through. Jen's going to talk about the impact of these efforts.
So next slide, please. Awesome. Thank you. So yeah, in building Undiscovered, we were able to provide opportunities for these retail vendors that didn't quite have a home. There are some some events out there, but might not really fit who they are, what they represent. And it also gave them opportunities to build partnerships and other projects with other peers, other retailers, other folks that are wholesalers or cross collaborators as well. We were able to have these, give this opportunity to have more exposure for them within our market and just have a larger reach. We always try to find unique, creative ways to kind of bring them together and help them grow. In terms of placements, we were able to analyze the sales data and help them place into a more permanent situation in SOMA. And Kevin actually was going to touch a little bit on that as well. Actually, go back to that slide. I think Kevin was going to touch on that slide. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so in terms of the greater picture of the SOMA Pilipinas plan and the 6th Street corridor, Desi had, and I knew there was some conversation earlier about Republica. Republica was a project that Desi had initiated about a year ago, or even longer than that, to help give a home to these vendors that participated at Undiscovered, a more permanent location to merchandise and sell their wares, so that, you know, it's not just us doing this every year, you know, 4 to 5 times a year, and there's one big thing. We wanted to give folks a home, and Republica is the manifestation of what Desi had basically envisioned and discovered being a sandbox of where we would see how consumers and the audience and the greater SOMA Pilipinas community would respond to the businesses that Jen and I had curate and brought on to Undiscovered. So I think that going forward, we actually have a really massive opportunity to extend what we're doing, these monthly events, to a more permanent situation, which Desi will discuss in the near future. So Jen's going to discuss some of the success stories in retail, and I'll go for food right after.
Yeah, so some of our success stories, we have Ron and Trisha in the house. Shout out to them with Assembly Hall. They've been with us since day one. They started off with the Fillmore location, which they are unfortunately now closed due, with everything that's happening during COVID, but they do still have their Diviz store. And there are definitely future plans with Undiscovered, along with Desi's Republica project as well. We have 676 Candles, who actually, she was with us since Black Market. So she's one of our carryover vendors that we've had, and she's been with us since then, almost every single show to Undiscovered as well. And with that, they were able to expand to Westfield pop-up. And I believe last holiday, when we did our holiday pop-up at Westfield approached them again to see if they would be interested in coming back. So it's been great to see growth within our retailers and that we took part in it. Our last vendor in our success stories is Malaya Botanicals, who actually joined us last year, but they're flourishing, and they just recently opened up a shop in Alameda this past year, which they are still open for business during COVID because it is considered essential, with limited pickup and drop-ins. So that's a few of our retail stories, but we definitely have many, many more that's been with us for a while. And then up next, we have food success stories. So it'd be next slide, and Kevin will talk you through that.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of you guys probably order from these folks all the time. If you're in Oakland, I literally live half a block from the Lumpia Company's location. I mean, Lumpia Company has been blowing up. They have, I mean, Alex Rototo has partnered with E40. He bought his mobile trailer, which is going into a more permanent location pretty soon too. He's also a vendor at Oracle Park, which was formerly AT&T Park. And I believe he's actually, after talking to him, he's actually going to mass manufacture and now have the Lumpia company, Lumpia, in the frozen section in a lot of grocery stores. So if you guys are somehow at a Safeway or a Lucky one of these days and see Lumpia company, Lumpia there, that's pretty tight. The Sarab shop, they're killing it. They have their trailer at Soma Street Food Park. They're one of the two or three Filipino American food vendors at the new Oracle Arena. Sorry, not Oracle Arena. It is called Chase Arena. That is my mistake, in San Francisco. Sorry, I'm from Oakland. Their catering and takeout and even their prepackaged stuff is blowing up. Like I just saw that they have jasmine milk tea or jasmine taho, which is really dope. Their prepackaged line is just amazing. And Senior Sisig, I think everyone knows Senior Sisig by now. They literally are, I just have seen them expand here into Oakland again. They just opened up their first retail brick and mortar in Valencia. And I believe over the past 2 months since COVID, I've seen 3 new locations in Oakland. I'm surrounded by Senior Sisig, and they're doing like these food vendors are doing such an amazing job. And I would be remiss if I didn't shout out like all the other folks that we'll have on the next slide. If you could go there. So by the numbers here, we have about 10 to 15 food vendors, and that includes prepackaged and those that cook on site. On average, every season, we're doing about 130,000 in food sales, and another 11,000 in total, actually more than that per event, but that's the average over the course of the past 3 seasons. We've had about 50 plus total unique participants, including prepackaged food. And our top vendors, Dennis Villafranca isn't here. He used to be the food curator during season 1. Jeepney Guy kills it every time. Maserap Truck, which is a new entrant since end of season 2, he kills it every time. And it's been amazing to see what I had originally thought wouldn't necessarily work, because I thought there weren't as many Filipino American entrepreneurs there as there was, and to a lot of folks that I'm seeing grow over the past 3.5, 4 years working here at Undiscovered. Jen, if you don't mind, can you go over the retail numbers for everyone?
Yes. Okay, so retail numbers, we had an average of 32 per event. This, Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, this is actually supposed to be per event, average total gross sales? Or
it's per season.
Oh.
And then the one at the bottom is per
got
event.
It.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so this one's per season, 90,000, and then average gross vendor sale per event. So not season, this one was a little typo, sorry about that, which is $600. We had well over 200 people, unique vendors at Undiscovered. And one thing to add to that is that there were many that were first-time vendors ever at our Undiscovered as well. And then for our top vendors, we have Archipelago Books, Bayani Art, Assembly Hall, Illa Manila, and Thesis of Alexandria would be a few of the vendors that have been tried and true and top sales.
I want to just like point out too that like part of like the number is so beautiful and like so great to see the success happening, but part of the success too is just the visibility. Like when I started my business 5 years ago, I didn't know any. I knew actually only 3 other Pinay entrepreneurs, and it was because of Undiscovered that I was able to meet so many more amazing Pinay entrepreneurs, and then actually went on and started an organization called Pinayista just to like create community around those entrepreneurs. So I want to just shout out the retail team for doing such a great job of the outreach, because the people don't come to us necessarily. It takes a lot of work and research and emails and calls to like get Filipino vendors, find them and get them to believe in the event and want to invest in it. So huge shout out to you all at the Retail Squad. All right, we will move on to one of the super popular parts of Undiscovered. Everything's great, but huge shout out to the main stage team. RJ, let's pass it to you.
Hey everybody, my name is RJ Navalta, and I first wanted to start off by saying that it's been a huge honor for me and CTA, Creative Transit Agency, to be able to provide the soundstage and lighting. Along with our partners at Gatsby, we've been able to create 3, actually more like 5 different stage experiences, because some venues had multiple performance stages, and I mean, we'll get into it later, but yeah, each venue had its own challenges, whether it was special power requests or lighting issues. We really had to get creative. Yeah, so let me introduce the rest of our team. Gene, next slide. CTA is actually committed to working with performing artists and training them to take their skills and talents and apply it to basically events in other areas of work. You guys might have seen Hui, who here says equipment manager, but he's also a DJ. And Jane, who is a stage coordinator, is also a performing artist, singer. I think she's performed at 2, maybe 1. She's definitely performed at the last holiday pop-up, and if you can recall what that was like, she basically shut down the show. It's kind of crazy. Outside of the production, there's also a separate team that focuses primarily on the curation of talent, and I'm gonna hand it over to Marky to explain more.
Hi, everybody. Marky again. I'm one of the music curators for Undiscovered. One of my other co-music curators, Mr. Ray, is also going to be speaking soon. And we also have a dance curator, Seme Dizon. So, as I mentioned, I'm also a DJ. I do wear many hats. And so, music is my passion. And so it's been an absolute honor and joy to be able to curate the music for Undiscovered. We have a challenge. One, the challenge of being able to produce and curate a strong enough program to draw a large crowd and to generate buzz and press, but also highlight the local talent that we have in our community, specifically SOMA Pilipinas. And I think we were successful and have been successful at doing both. So, from seasoned veterans to cultural performers, rising stars, local SOMA talent, we've had a little bit of everything, over the last 3 years on our stage. And so I'm really proud of what we've been able to do and to provide a stage and a platform for Filipino American talents to shine. So next slide, please. So actually, this slide might be yours, RJ.
Okay. Yeah. So as I kind of alluded to earlier, each of our venues has been really unique, and some of our stage challenges really revolved around the particular nuances of each space. I could tell you this firsthand: the 150-year-old building, the SF Mint, was probably one of the most difficult just by design. I think someone earlier said that there was only 1 operating elevator, and we basically had to run power from both the bottom floor and top floor. The Chronicle parking lots, basically the widest area that we ever had to provide soundstage and lighting for. We had to bring in a giant generator and then pipe all the power, network all the power to each and every space. One of our biggest challenges has really been trying to find the happy compromise between the venue and our offerings. And I think one of our biggest hills to overcome was the Chronicle stage. Luckily, with our partners at Gatsby, they have really helped us out, provided more than we've asked for, and really couldn't have done it without them. Marky, you can go and take the next one.
Sounds good. All right, next slide, please.
Actually, something I'll point out to, like some of the other challenges when we say like seasoned headliners. In season 1, we actually experimented a lot with bringing on different types of performers from different cities and different levels of exposure to see what was the best mark, because obviously part of our goal is to really feature local talent, but a large part of our goal is getting enough people to come to support the retail vendors. And so we realized that every month we wanted to highlight a really headliner who was going to pull big numbers to bring the shopping capability to spend on the small businesses. And after a certain time, we were finding it hard to find enough seasoned headliners, which just lets us know that we have a lot of work cut out for us too, to help really build up this pool of amazing Filipino talent, because the talent is out there. It's just about us helping them get the reach and get the pull so that we can get enough numbers to come to support the event. So we love all the suggestions that people bring in for us as well.
Great. So yeah, thanks, Gina. So kind of just jumping off of what I was talking about earlier, we've featured so many amazing performers on stage, and there's not enough slides, to shout them all out. But I do want to acknowledge every single performer who has performed at Undiscovered, from the main stage to the Flower Lounge to, just on the sidewalk to, it was just, the dancers who were just grooving in front of the stage. It's just been amazing to see all the amazing talent and artists that are coming out of our community. So, here's just a few success stories from the stage, but there's many, many more. But here's just a few highlights. How can we, what could we say? We had the 90s freestyle queen and Bay Area raised Jocelyn Enriquez highlighting season opener of last year. Quick story of how we decided to book Jocelyn. We were actually at our staff retreat last year, and I remember we had like a Bluetooth speaker, people were playing it, and somebody started playing some freestyle music, and everybody's getting all hyped. And of course, a Jocelyn Enriquez track comes on, and somebody said, we should totally book her. And that's exactly what we did. Jocelyn was in the midst of a comeback, and she was starting to perform again. And we reached out to her team, and she was thrilled and excited to find out that that one, we were interested in booking her, and two, that she would be able to perform for a hometown crowd at our season opener. So it was, she was an immediate yes. And when we announced it, the media picked up on this right away. The story generated a huge amount of buzz, and the event just became like a really, really huge success for us, and an amazing way to kick off season 3. And shout out to Jocelyn Enriquez. She's one of the sweetest ladies and an amazing performer. And I'm just I was fanboying when I was, when I got to meet her. She signed my shirt and my poster. So I was stoked to see her perform at Undiscovered. So that was definitely a highlight. Another notable highlight, we can't say enough about the All Pinay month that we had to kind of end off season 2 during Filipino American History Month. Ruby Ibarra, rising star, spoken word artist and music producer, headlined that month. And then also we also had Rocky Rivera and Faith Santilia join her on stage for a rendition of her song Us, which pretty much tore down the house. And as you can see from that picture, it was just like a sea of faces, of brown, beautiful brown faces, from the front of the stage all the way to the back. And I'll never forget that moment. I'm kind of getting chills just thinking about it. It was definitely a highlight of that season. And we're hoping that inspired a lot of other future collaborations, including the Entrepreneur Summit. That year, Ruby went on to have an amazing year. She went on to perform at various music festivals, and she even performed in the motherland in the Philippines and at various music festivals there. So again, shout out to Ruby Ibarra, amazing talent. She's coming out with a new album in October. Who knows, maybe we'll have her back for season 4. And now I'd like to hand it off to my co-music curator, Mr. Ray.
Yeah, I'm kind of stuck in this meeting. Just
Oh, yeah, went away for. Okay, cool. Hey, what's up, everyone? How's everyone doing? Can y'all hear me? Can everyone hear me? All right, cool. Yeah, hi everyone. Ray Novicio, Mr. Ray. Last season was my first season, and I've actually was able to be part of the first season as a performer, and I was super blessed. I'm super blessed for that opportunity. But carrying it over to being part of season 3, like in the beginning, I didn't know what to expect because now I'm working with this very seasoned person, Marky. I was like, man, this guy knows so much. So I'm just kind of like have to be like a little shadow, like take his cues or whatnot, and just like really learning from his guidance. And also I appreciate the fact that like he, when he doesn't know anything, like, he would just be like, yo, Ray, I'm stuck at this point. Can you help me out? And be like, yeah, I got you. That's why I'm here. So I think our relationship was able to be built throughout our time together, having it's like finding out that culture between two musicians, just two artists, two Filipinx, two Filipino American, who really care about bringing music in the forefront and to our people, and also to like folks looking in. And the big part of it is what I'm really excited about was like to kind of like the reinvention of the Flower Lounge, or like what that became during the first one. Like that, none of that was planned. I want to say some of it was planned, but like the universe is actually was like driving this, and it's all just a matter of like if all the energies are there, all the right people were there, so it was magical. Like a lot of photos, a lot of video that you can still prefer and it still be like, wow, like something special here. And as a person, as an artist, a creative, as a vessel, that's how I am. That's how I react to like spending like things that I don't expect, like very magic, and be like, whoa, that's interesting. Even and I want to be able to like not box it, but more, how do I amplify the next time around and invite the same energy to come in. And that's always been a big part of how I move. And I'm just really appreciative of like everyone in the team to having call me out on things when I need to be called in, and vice versa. People are just like what folks have to understand about the Discovery team and Cultivate team is like everyone's heart is there, and everyone is so open to like learn. All you gotta do is just like communicate. We can't read minds. If you have something that you really feel like is something wrong, let us know, and but come with solution. Don't come with just like an opinion, because it's just an opinion. Everyone has an opinion. My doctor had an opinion, and I was just like, yeah, that didn't sound right. But anyways, that's yeah, just moving forward to what's to look forward to. Uh, yeah, drop that now. Looking forward to for moving into more like the virtual world of Undiscovered, and still following the thread of like inviting in, and still really like seeding, but more deeply rooted, but more growing it out, like letting everyone make sure we water it down, or like we water and we nurture this kind of like this intergenerational ways of presenting, and our entertainment aspect, like, and skill aspect work. So something that I'm really excited for the Flower Lodge, or even as a Fresco Pino like brand, is as a cipher open mic or whatever that might be. And part of Undiscovered is the intergenerational component of like seeing like some of my old homies. I want to call them old, but they're young at heart, because everyone's hip hop. You know what I'm saying? And and just seeing their kids having to do the same thing, either a breakdancer, MC, DJing, and having to see those duo to be shared in like a space like what we're doing at Undiscovered. I think it's beautiful, So I'm excited for that. But yeah, we have a lot of like spotlight and SOMA. SOMA is just like it's the hub. I'm not even from SOMA. I'm from the Mission. People claim me to be SOMA, but I'm from the Mission. But it's all city the way I look at it, and I'm just super excited to really cultivate and nourish this kind of energy that we're bringing in now with all these people that are contributing, all the magic that are like well intentioned, well guided, and well protected magic that we are manifesting. So if you're not here, if you're not undiscovered, yeah, I'm excited for that. So I don't want to say much because I feel like you're just gonna have to be there. It's like, yeah, be there and be with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. Just want to shout out Ray because I mean his job was really like he did a great job, like spotlighting local SOMA talent, SF native talent.
Yeah.
SF native performers. We wanted to make sure that we had that local flavor at Undiscovered. I mean, that's what it was all about. And so Mr. Ray was a big part of that, and that's why he was that we brought him onto the team, and he gave birth to the Frisco Pinot Cipher. And so he did an amazing job curating the Frisco Pinot Cipher and the Flower Lounge, giving it that local flavor, and also and also bringing a very community aspect to it and to the stage. And so I appreciate you, Ray, for doing that. So
Thank you, Mark.
thank you.
Yeah. I do want to add that like it hasn't been like the easiest to get like SOMA or like SOMA performance, because that alone is kind of like it's very limiting. Like it's like like I don't know, 12 blocks, like a mile, and you hear all these upcoming artists who are young, who kind of been lightweight stagnant or kind of figuring out if they still want to be an artist, and just being real. I know a lot of people when they found out that like, oh, Ray's part of Undiscovered, I swear like people would just be like, hey, how can I be part of it? And I'm like, and how to be really be careful on like how like what to offer and what kind of energy to really invite in, because and also taking notes to like, oh, some of these folks need support on this end. How who can I talk to within our network and Cultivate Labs or just SOMA Pilipinas to like in order for us to create a platform for that. If you're talking about you have an EP coming out and you ain't got no logo, come on, like to me I could just be like this. I'd be like, oh, come on, what you doing? Like, but I need to be more like resourceful. Oh, check this out. Maybe you can link to these people, and then pick it up from there. That's like it's very like relational still, and a lot of these people are looking at Undiscovered as like born and raised here. They're younger. They're still making music out of their bedroom. I mean, I did that. I'm not gonna lie. I'm still doing it. So they're not alone, and just being real with them, like just like reaching them out where they are, and not kind of like taking it down as opposed to just like, yeah, there's a platform for you. We're here, like we're here to listen and to make sure that we're able to support you through your journey as an artist from San Francisco or Bay Area and the Filipino diaspora. So we're here. Yep.
Yeah, I think. Sorry, I'll just wrap up real quick. I think basically what Ray's saying is like, we also are, we're working with from seasoned veterans to new performers. Some of these performers, it's their first time filling out an invoice or writing in or filling out a W-9, a W-2 or whatnot. So I think there's been a certain level of us also teaching these younger performers kind of and learn, like teaching them the ropes on how to become a more professional seasoned performer. So we don't have to talk too much about the numbers. We showcased over 156 different performers. 94% of them were Filipino, Filipino X, Filipino American. We invested over $80,000 in our performers, which I'm really proud of. That's amazing. And some of our notable headliners have been Jocelyn Enriquez, Qbert, Ruby Ibarra, Low Leaf, Lyrics Born, Tequila, and beat rock music and bamboo. So yeah, the list goes on. And yeah, thank you so much, everybody.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Kim. I'm the arts curator. I'm also an independent artist. I actually was part of the very first Undiscovered with my booth called the Lola Project. Shout out if you remember that from season 1. We were present for season 1 and season 2. And I joined in this most recent season, in season 3, as the arts curator. Next slide, please, Gina. So across all of our disciplines, music, dance, visual arts, we've had over 200 total artists since 2017. We've had over 100 dance and performers. So some highlights include Little Manila Dance Collective, House of Gongs. We did a really amazing interactive art performance with Granny Cart Gangstas. Of course, we had Barangay, Parangao, all of our local dance companies here. And we've paid over $10,000 to 13 artists in visual arts alone, so directly in arts commissions. And that's a huge thing when we think about, like, normally our budgets, like just in general in the US, like arts is always the first thing that gets cut when budgets are cut, right? So we want to be really intentional about making sure that our artists are paid well. You know, artists are always like really scrappy and really modest when it comes to getting paid about things. So we do our best to make sure that they're paid well. Next slide, please. We were so excited to be able to put up 3 murals in SOMA Pilipinas in 2019 alone. Of course, like one of our favorite one was the basketball court, the Undiscovered court that was designed by Dracy Bayan. We, you know, gathered over 70 volunteers from community. Yeah, Marissa was there. There were so many of you that were there that volunteered to paint every single afternoon, every evening. Some of us were there until like 3 a.m. the night before it was supposed to open. And so that was like really a labor of love from the community to get everyone engaged and making sure that the streets, that the murals on Stevenson Alley were really beautiful. We also commissioned Lumiyab mural by Christian Kabuay and Sammy C. So that's over on Folsom Street. And that was in a partnership with Mirage Medicinal. And we also commissioned local artist Monica Magtoto to paint this mural like directly on Stevenson called Unexpected Places, inspired by Mount Pinatubo, and also just thinking about our resilience as Filipino Americans in the diaspora. So, you know, putting up murals is not an easy feat, and it was really a lot of the community coming together to make sure that these happened. Next slide, please. And so this was one of our quotes from one of our from 2 of our participating artists, Mariel Montero and Paulo Salazar, who, if you remember, they did a pop-up Sorry Sorry store as an art project in season 3. And so they said, participating as artists at Undiscovered was a way to conjure a small piece of home for those who remember, as well as connect to those who feel disconnected from the motherland. Making art for this event felt like an act of love towards our own people without the pressure of creating for the white gaze and for institutions that don't see us. It brought so much joy to our hearts to have this experience. So, you know, for a lot of visual arts artists, a lot of the experience is trying to get noticed, trying to get seen by these big, historically white art galleries and art institutions. And so we also really wanted to turn Undiscovered into this new way of looking at art and establishing it as a place for artists to really speak to the narratives that are closest to their heart. Yeah, they did. They made these like handmade paper, sorry store snacks. All right, I think next. One thing that I also wanted to note is that we sold every single piece from our art auction last fall during the holiday market. Ate Carol was one of our art collectors. And so, you know, with the arts, we're also just trying to build more of an audience for our own Filipino American community to invest in artists, to collect from Filipino American artists. So hopefully we'll see a lot more of that soon. Thanks, everyone.
Go ahead, Aaron. Yeah.
What's up, guys? My name is Aaron Orsino. I have been with Undiscovered since season 1. I hung up the lanterns in the main courtyard. And I'm also a program manager working with Cultivate Labs, in charge of Seed Business Accelerator, and recently took over as operations lead for Filipinos Feed the Front Lines. So I'm really happy to be involved in this work, something that brings me a lot of pride. So what you see here in this, go back. So what you see here in this photo is the barangay from season 2. It's the tunnel on, is it Minna Street, Gina? Yeah. But one of the things that I think is amazing and kind of magical is just the transformation that happens in the space. As a member of the ops team, we get there in the morning before the sanitation crews come, or when people are still hanging out. And you know, some of these places that we transform, they're a little bit rough. Like you might be a little bit reluctant to walk there by yourself at night. But as the day goes on and the vendors come in and we put in our work and we put in our effort, you see the space transform into something else. And then once they open the doors and the families and the people start coming in, I don't know, something special happens. And I think one thing that is really cool about what we do at Undiscovered is that we get everyone in the community in the same room at once, in the same space at once. We've got our people who are there for the artists. We've got the people who are there for the art and shopping and retail. We've got our community groups that are giving their contribution. And I think that's something that's really special that we're able to accomplish. And not only that, we have programming. We've strived to have programming that appeals to as many demographics as we can, from stuff for the kids, stuff for the young adults, stuff for the parents, and even stuff for the lolos and lolas. So in this slide here, we have my favorite barangay, which was the tunnel in season 2. And right past that bar stage, we set up a stage there. And one of my favorite memories is when we had a U-Jam, World of Dance, there in season 2. And it was crazy, man. There was like 30 people dancing. The music was bumping. We had aunties and lolas and kids all dancing there. It was a really good vibe. Cool, next slide. So throughout the years, we've had 25 plus family programs featuring programming with survival arts, women's self-defense, also Escabo Daan in season 1. We also featured Kids Groove all of our seasons, and Kids Groove actually made the cover of SF Weekly last year. Shout out to Papa Lowdown again. We've got World of Dance and also our coloring station that was manned by Pep from San Francisco State University. In addition to that, our programming, we strive to be very culturally responsive. So we featured a Filipino coloring book called the 3 by Bylands last year in association with Pinoy Educational Partnerships. We also helped with the Bridge and Delta book launch for the Larry Itlian book in season 1. The opening group for season 2 was traditional dance with Little Manila Collective that I thought was really beautiful and pretty epic. And we even had, we have partnerships with elementary schools in SOMA Pilipinas, and we had kids from Bessie Carmichael singing last year. And another cool aspect is 100% of our classes and family programs are taught by and for the community. So it's really cool to have everyone in one space, seeing that parents feel safe having their kids there, and having kids just playing in a place where you would never imagine your kids to be walking around, popping bubbles. Next slide. So here are some of our highlights. In the barangay, we've got the Lola Project in the top middle. We had a tribute to Ate Dawn last year and the year before. And in the bottom middle, you can see just how bustling the barangay got during those peak times. And yeah, in general, it's just really cool to be able to curate a space where people could feel safe, people could feel inclusive, and where everyone can get together. And with that, I'm going to pass it on to Desi.
Thanks so much, Aaron. Yeah, Barangay is always one of my favorite places. So it's always been a super fun space. All right, Desi, we're going to wrap up with just talking about some of the other ways Undiscovered has had impact, and we're going to talk about what's to come for this year. So go ahead, Desi.
Cool. Yeah, Undiscovered is definitely our premier program. It gets a lot of the shine because, it's quite large and has a big effect. But we're very cognizant of what is the role of economic development and how do we serve the different parts of our community. So next slide. So a little known fact is that, in the beginning of last season, we got an email from one of our fans saying that they love Undiscovered, but they're really concerned that the seniors of SOMA Pilipinas do not come to Undiscovered because they can't afford the food. And even though it's a free event, it's still kind of out of reach. And that really kind of shook us because we didn't really realize that even though we've created this great festival, we were leaving out our Lolas and Lolos. So, we raised money privately from some like-minded businesses, and we started to kind of discreetly hand out food vouchers to our seniors via a partnership with BEC. And then when the Wells Fargo Foundation found out what we were doing, they asked, what would you do if we gave you some money? Well, we said, we really want to make the experience for the seniors much better and really just designed for them. So we decided to create a pop-up restaurant experience only for the seniors. You might have seen this at Undiscovered. It was actually located right next to the Flower Lounge. And so with the Wells Fargo money, we hired some of the best chefs in our community to create meals specifically designed for the seniors that were culturally relevant, but extremely healthy at the same time. And there was enough baon for them to take home because that's really important for them. Next slide. A little known fact, if you can play this video, is that this project, the Golden Debut, actually was an extension of an art project that we partnered up with SOMA Pilipinas. Paul Barrera realized at a community meeting that a lot of the seniors didn't even know that the cultural district existed. So we decided to create a special event for them with Make It Marico, VEC, and we rented out Kovo. We invested like $15,000 to create basically instead of kind of like a debut for being 16, we called it the Golden Debut to kind of celebrate who they were in their golden age. And we knew that a lot of our Lolas are very fashionable. Oh, there's me dancing with my mom. Very fashionable. So we decided to also host a photo shoot that we created an art show around. Next slide. Another project that was briefly mentioned by Aaron. Aaron is the lead manager for the Seed Accelerator. What we do is we work with some of the best vendors at Undiscovered, and with the city grant, we find ways to accelerate their business. So with Archipelago, we worked on their branding, we redeveloped their website, taught them better social media skills, and so they went from a struggling bookstore to a thriving bookstore. Every year we work with 6 or more different businesses, and if we had more time, we would dig deeper into it, but we're very proud of what we've done to help support Archipelago and their mission. Next slide.
Okay, I think this is me. We're to the final countdown of what's in store. So, COVID and coronavirus taking a toll on the entire events industry and our community. I mean, as an event planner myself, I'm there. So many events have canceled. I lost 87% of my income, and we're really thinking about the safety of all of our attendees in our community as well. But at the same time, being resilient is part of being Filipino, and it is in our blood, and we're gonna, keep pushing forward and not let down our community. So in the spirit of all of that in mind, we are going virtual. So Undiscovered will live on this year. We are aiming for a 2-day virtual summit. And we are exploring the ways that we are going to incorporate, but we really want to see how we can translate the Undiscovered Festival onto a virtual platform that is still highlighting everyone in really exciting ways and giving people a taste of what that experience looks like. I mean, we can never replicate the experience of an in-person event, but we will definitely do everything that we can to do so. I'm really excited about the virtual opportunity too, because I think there's a lot of ways that we can expand our network and reach even further. We can still feature performances. We can experiment with food meal kit deliveries. We're also thinking about, how can we expand that and support other cities as well? How can we expand to get New York involved or LA involved, where there's also strong Filipino communities? And how can we partner with those local food businesses and really uplift Filipino communities there? We also have an opportunity to really go hard on content. In person is very beautiful, but now with this virtual experience, we don't have limits of needing to have equipment and seating and power and lighting. So sky's the limit in terms of featuring, sorry, community talks, panels, and really how can we turn this into, like a South by Southwest or a TED conference where we're really featuring content and voices and sharing stories of our community. So there's so much potential in what we can do. How can we do demos online featuring, chefs cooking demos or mailing food meal kits to people's homes so they could cook along with the chefs, or retail vendors doing, live demos in their stores. A lot of people can't be open, but we can still get a tour of merchandise that's being sold and have people buy it on the spot, link to people's stores. Kim, I love your comment, South by Southeast Asia instead of South by Southwest. I love it. So there's so much creativity that can happen, and we're not gonna, go anywhere. But what's really important to note is that with, COVID hitting a lot of city budgets and a lot of our grant funding, may not be available this year. And that's really important because this event has happened in large part due to grant funding. So this year we won't have access to a lot of that. And because of that, we really need to look at this season as also a fundraiser for Undiscovered, a fundraiser for Cultivate Labs. Because without us being able to raise funds, we wouldn't be able to put this virtual event on. So we're exploring with things about, Undiscovered has always been free and we want to keep it accessible, but we might do some limited tickets, maybe a $5 ticket or even a $1 ticket for people just to help fundraise and make this event happen so we can still pay our performers and, pay our staff and fund and contribute to the development of our businesses. So a lot of potential, a lot of new things we're going to be exploring and really going to be depending on our community to continue to support Undiscovered and help us keep it going. And if the August event goes really well and we're able to fundraise money, then we'll be able to bring another event virtual back in October for Filipino American History Month. So really going back to that first season where we had to crowdfund to make it happen, and we'll be asking our folks to come support us again and spread the word. I love this brainstorm about the name that's happening in the chat box right now. Thank you, everyone. And so with that, we want to close out with just a huge thank you to every single person who supported us, from the crowdfunding campaign to coming to an event to spending money at our vendors to following us, sharing on social media. It's because of every single person that's part of this community that we have been a success. And we're very excited to continue what we've done, and not only continue, but share our model of what we've been doing to other Filipino communities so that we can help them do something similar in their city. It's all about, sharing the love. And I just want to personally say too that it's been one of the biggest honors and blessings of my life to be involved with this event. It has brought me so much purpose and joy. And I love our team so much. Thank you everyone for all your hard work.